a lot going on as always when it comes to this. I want to bring in retired Naval Intelligence Commander Dr. Paul Chabot, who is joining us now live via Zoom. Dr. Chabot, good to see you as always. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Aaron, great to be with you. A lot of moving pieces the last 24, 48 hours. Look, the war right now, I think, is at a very dangerous place. As you mentioned rightfully, that Iran has announced that they will not negotiate with the U.S. based on conflicts with Israel and Lebanon. Look, Hezbollah, one of four significant terror groups in the region funded by Iran, is based largely in that region, and it's understandable why Israel is on the front side of that. But look, at the same time, Trump said that he's now negotiated a truce between Hezbollah and Israel. So when you look at the timeline of what we're seeing is first Iran states that they are no longer in negotiations. Then shortly later, maybe within a 2, 3 hour time frame, President Trump puts out that he's negotiated this truce between the two. And what we know is that the Israeli military is ordering attacks in Beirut, Lebanon, Hezbollah, and just so much going on. I mean, including the Iranian president resigning over the weekend and much more.
Yeah, and we look at at the fact that the ceasefire in general has been really fragile, to put it mildly, in a lot of ways, Dr.
Yeah.
Chabot, because despite the ceasefire officially being in effect, there's still been fighting that has gone on throughout all of this. You look at the president resigning, what impact do you think that's going to have on all of this?
Yeah, I think it's significant. We've been talking about this for months, with you and looking at, Iran has two forms of leadership. You have a president, which is a weak president by design, and then you have an Ayatollah. Ayatollah controls the military. Everything flows through the Ayatollah. We killed the senior Ayatollah, if you will, and then his son has stepped into that role. His son was gravely injured in the attack where we took out his father, and also the new Ayatollah's wife and child were killed. We've not heard much from this new Ayatollah, but we have heard a lot from the Revolutionary Guard and what they're doing. When the president steps down, I think it's largely symbolic. There's some disagreements, but I think it also strongly shows us that the diplomatic sense in dealing with Iran right now largely does not exist. We are dealing with the Ayatollah, which is hardline, anti-Israel, anti-United States.
Yeah, and you look at the fact too, the Strait of Hormuz was really such a huge sticking point, especially with really all parties involved here in the US wanting to get those gas prices back down. We started maybe seeing them climb down a little bit, but as of now, the strait hasn't reopened. So we know the gas market and the oil market has been pretty reactionary throughout all of this. Do you think that the way talks have been going, do you see this still being something that we're dealing with over the long haul at this point?
I think as of today, we've got to just assume that this is going to take a lot of time. This is not going to end overnight. I would also argue we don't have a ceasefire right now. When both, we're firing on Iran, Iran's firing on us. And Iran's gotten more brazen, more bold in the weeks since the ceasefire went into effect. They basically said in the last day that they will not tolerate a U.S. blockade. And they also state that the Strait of Hormuz falls under Iran's control. And they've also now threatened to open up another front. There's another strait, which is, if you look at a map, it's south of the Strait of Hormuz, south of Saudi Arabia, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. That would be another economic impact. So I think, if anything, Iran has gotten more brazen. Today, they fired on U.S. troops in Kuwait, although U.S. forces struck those down. Over the weekend, the United States took out a number of Iranian boats which were attempting to lay mines in the strait. And lastly, out of this point, international law protects the strait. No nation can control a strait. It is open for seaways. So mining a strait is in itself another form of a declaration of war.
And so what do you think is driving this brazenness that we're seeing from Iran at this point?
I feel, in watching this, that Iran sees a sense of weakness. Look, they're not dumb. They're watching the news. They're watching the international news. They're reading the major stories. They know a few things politically are happening here in the United States. Number one, we have midterm elections coming up shortly. They're also, I'm sure, seeing the poll numbers that Americans are not in favor of this right now. Trump's numbers are underwater. So, from an Iranian strategic perspective, for them, it's advantageous every day they carry this out. It's more advantageous to them. And also, they are supported by Russia, they are supported by China militarily, but largely from an intelligence perspective. So, although we are battling Iran and the terror proxies, etc., we're also dealing with the fact that our adversaries are sharing intelligence with the Iranians that are helping to target US forces. Hence, they struck down one of US drones over the weekend. So, multifaceted approach to this process going forward. Importantly, we are still, controlling the strait the best we can, turned away a number of vessels going into or from Iran. Iran's losing about $435 million a day that they cannot share trade oil. So there is that economic impact as well. But it appears as Iran's just shrugging it off and continuing to fire at our forces.
So, with all of that in mind, what are you watching as the next few days and hours go ahead? Again, we've talked about this before, Dr. Chabot, the fact that it's hard to predict what's going to happen at this point. But I think maybe what to watch for right now really is the best question.
Yeah, in the last 24 hours, US forces have struck radar installations along some of the Iranian islands in the Strait of Hormuz. That could just be purely defense optics, or it could point to a broader peace going forward. And that would be a massive military operation in the future to really take over southern coastline of Iran, the islands, and open the strait up by force. I don't see us going there in the next few days, but there could be some preparation and moving in that direction, because you got to think of it this way. What's the alternative? Right now, Iran's not negotiating. They've gotten more brazen. Oil prices are skyrocketing, and Iran's said that they now control the strait, which is worse off than how it was when we first began this war against them. Look, even if gas prices were to stabilize, some miraculous thing happened today or tomorrow, it's going to take about 3 to 12 months for us to even get to pre-war gas prices. We may see prices drop little by little by little if good things happen. But as of today, all the indicators are pointing in the exact opposite.
Retired Naval Intelligence Commander Dr. Paul Chabot, we really appreciate you lending your perspectives. It's a war that keeps getting more complicated by the minute. We appreciate you helping break down the headlines for us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Aaron.